Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to basically unpack the key insights from our sources for you.
That's right. And today we're diving into a really well-candid piece titled Doug Casey's Take, The DEI Implosion, Tariffs, and Trump's Rise.
A provocative title. Our mission, then, is to explore this critical view on, corporate America, global politics.
And yeah, the whole complex interplay of surveillance, AI, state power, it's quite a journey, starting with cultural issues, then economic stuff, and landing on some, frankly, quite chilling tech implications.
Okay, so let's jump in. The source kicks off with a specific cultural moment. Actress Sydney Sweeney's campaign for American Eagle jeans.
Right, and the immediate impact was pretty interesting. It apparently boosted the stock briefly from like $10 to $12, became a bit of a meme stock thing.
Yeah, driven by that social media buzz.
Yeah.
And the slogan, "Our jeans are good jeans,"
Yeah.
clearly playing on her appearance.
But here's where the source gets critical. They sort of celebrated the ad's traditional look, but then really slammed American Eagle for pulling it.
Pulling it, why? Because of backlash.
Exactly. Backlash over it not being inclusive enough, apparently. And the source saw this as a sign of corporate weakness.
And they didn't stop there with the critique of DEI, did they? Diversity, equity, inclusion.
No, they were pretty sharp. They mentioned previous American Eagle ads featuring what the source described as morbidly obese models.
And they mocked those efforts.
Yeah, mocked them as just superficial DEI posturing. It really makes you think, what are the pressures driving these big companies today?
Well, the article suggests, through Doug Casey's comments, that it's not bold leadership.
No, quite the opposite. He paints corporate leaders as careerist bureaucrats. Very much like government officials, he says, afraid to make waves.
So, not visionaries steering the ship, but more like caretakers.
Pretty much. And he uses this really strong metaphor, the modern corporation as a lobotomized giant.
Wow. Lobotomized giant, powerful but without a mind of its own.
Exactly. Powerful in structure, but empty of, soul or real vision. The takeaway seems to be they're driven more by fear of, say, Twitter backlash than actual business strategy.
That's a pretty bleak picture. Okay, so shifting gears a bit from corporate culture, the article moves into economics, specifically Trump's tariffs.
Right, and it mentions Howard Lutnick's estimate, something like $700 billion a year in potential tariff revenue.
Which sounds massive, and, mainstream reports might frame that as a big win for the U.S. Treasury.
But the source pushes back hard on that. Consistent with their skepticism, Doug's take is that this isn't actually creating wealth.
So what is it then, in their view?
It's framed as a transfer of wealth from the people to the state. The argument is simple. More money for the government, wherever it comes from, just means more government power, more control, not necessarily better lives for citizens.
And they get even more critical, likening Trump's $600 handout to Americans.
Oh, yeah, to bread and circuses.
Right, a classic ploy, they argue, to buy loyalty with small tokens, while the bigger levers of control remain untouched or even strengthened.
And this ties into their core critique of statism. They argue that Trump, despite maybe being anti-woke or pro-deregulation in some ways, is still fundamentally a statist.
Meaning he believes in central control.
Yeah, just with him in charge. The state, in this analogy they use, it's like a hydra. It just keeps growing, fed by both left and right, and citizens are kind of caught in the middle regardless.
So, beyond the headlines, the question for you listening is, how might these policies really affect your financial situation long term?
That's a good question. And sticking with global economics, the article then looks at a U.S.-Europe trade deal.
One that American media apparently portrayed as a total victory for the U.S.
Yes, and the source details some terms. 0 tariffs on U.S. goods going to Europe, but 15% on European goods coming here. Plus, huge LNG purchases by Europe from the U.S., $750 billion worth.
And also European investment back into the U.S., pharma and weapons.
Right. But the source suggests there's more to it, an implied quid pro quo.
Meaning it wasn't just about trade figures.
They contend it was linked to military alliances, leverage against Russia, maybe even unspoken deals about Ukraine's future. Doug's specific claim is blunt. Europe isn't getting a good deal economically.
They're buying protection.
That's the phrase used, yeah. Buying protection out of fear of Russia. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What hidden agreements might be tucked inside these complex international deals?
Absolutely. And from these global power dynamics, the article pivots to something, well, potentially even more unsettling.
The intersection of AI surveillance and psychological warfare, this is where it gets quite intense.
Intense is right. It introduces DARPA's Theory of Mind program, Tom.
Okay, so this TOM program, as the article describes it, is designed to use AI, huge amounts of data, predictive modeling, to simulate and actually shape how adversaries think.
Shape their thinking.
Yeah.
Man, who's involved? They mentioned Palantir.
Yes, Palantir's role is highlighted. Its tech reportedly used in Ukraine for targeting, but also Gaza, Iraq, Syria, Yemen. And the article even tentatively mentions possibly U.S. domestic operations during COVID.
Wow. And the system they describe? It sounds like something out of science fiction. Every person becoming a kind of digital twin.
Essentially, yeah. A profile built from, well, everything. Your phone pings, social media, transactions, all bought, integrated, analyzed to simulate how you'd react, and potentially to manipulate that reaction.
Manipulate how? What's the goal?
The intended outcome, according to the source, is to sow confusion, deep confusion. So the target, whether that's a foreign adversary or potentially even average citizens, doesn't even realize they're being influenced or attacked.
Or by whom?
Exactly, leading to what they call compliance without open rebellion. It's chilling stuff.
And they connect this back to Sun Tzu, ancient strategy.
Right, the art of war. Specifically, the idea of knowing your enemy's mind so well you can control the outcome without a direct fight. It's applied with, hyper-advanced technology.
So the question becomes, what does this mean for privacy, for autonomy, when every click, every digital trace feeds into these predictive models? It's a lot to consider.
It really is. And the article doesn't pull any punches in its conclusions. It makes some incredibly strong, almost sweeping claims as it wraps up.
Like what?
Well, flat out asserting we're watching the collapse of Western civilization.
Whoa. Okay, that's big.
And they don't stop there. They claim the current system isn't really capitalism anymore, but fascism.
Fascism. How do they define that?
As a system where corporations and government are deeply intertwined, essentially working together to control the population, they argue wealth inequality isn't just market forces at work.
But state-directed corruption.
Precisely. And interestingly, they loop even things like Trump's initiatives, crypto, meme stocks, tariff talk back into this.
How so?
Presenting them as just new ways for the elite to pillage, but dressed up in populist clothes. It's a deeply critical perspective. Do these views resonate at all with your own observations of society today?
Well, we certainly covered a huge range of critique here, from, specific corporate choices and cultural spats, right through big economic theories, geopolitical maneuvering, and into this really quite unnerving potential of AI.
Yeah, it all paints this picture, this dystopian vision, really, rooted in a profound distrust of any centralized power, be it corporate or state.
Which leaves us with a final thought to chew on, I suppose. If every digital action helps build a digital twin, and the goal is this compliance without open rebellion,
what does that truly mean for individual freedom, for the possibility of collective resistance in a world that's becoming so integrated, so monitored?
a heavy question to end on. Although, on a slightly lighter note, they did tease their upcoming book.
Ah, yes, described as unlike any book you've held before, and apparently both beautiful and useful.
Yeah, and they had a little joke about wanting to reclaim the word beautiful from overuse. Sounds intriguing anyway.
Definitely something different to look out for.